So, a part of this class that's not really as technological, though it has some technological, all of this has tech aspects to it, but it's not about programming so much, um, are these areas that I would refer to as rules based. So, I'll just go over these four main areas with you now. 508 compliance, or Section 508, will refer to accessibility issues. How do we make our websites accessible to people that don't see? Maybe they're surfing the web using a screen reader, for example, or for people who have color blindness. What colors can we and can we not use? How are we supposed to use HTML to mark up our headings of our web pages so that they're 508 compliant? Things like that. When we put an image on a web page, what are we supposed to do with alt tags so that a screen reader, for example, can read that image? Somebody that might not be able to see the image still wants to know what that's an image of, so you're supposed to add an alt tag, that kind of thing. So that's 508 compliance. We do one assignment on it, and then I hope that I expect that your final website will demonstrate that you're attending to issues related to 508. You're going to kind of talk about that in a sort of a video walkthrough or some kind of something I'm kind of adding this semester is you're going to talk about how you've met these rules, how you've observed them in your website. Multimedia learning and tech-enhanced learning. Let me see if I can find. Sorry. Maybe I didn't bring the book in. I didn't bring the book in. I wanted to hold it up for you. But that's a book by Clark and Mayer that we will refer to. We don't really read the whole thing, but we are going to use it to make sure that for the educational portion of your website, your final website will have a piece where it sort of teaches a lesson to some audience that you choose. For that educational piece, I want to make sure that you're aware of multimedia learning principles or tech-enhanced learning principles, and we'll be going over that. And sometimes I abbreviate it as MML-TEL, just to let you know. We'll also be going over copyright and fair use. What is copyright? Why is it important that you don't just use any old image or any old asset that you find on the web? Why it's important that you really create your own if you can, or if you use somebody else's, that you use it by observing fair use doctrine. Okay, so you can use other people, other authors' assets that they've created that you found on the web. You can argue for limited use using the doctrine of, fair use. Okay, so it's important to understand those two concepts. I know that you see those two concepts probably in almost every class that you take. The reason being that it's very important that you are observing copyright and fair use, and that certainly if you're guiding your students in making web artifacts, that you are guiding them. You're not just saying take everything and use other people's stuff. You try to encourage people to author their own things, take their own pictures, that kind of thing. The other area that we learn about this sort of rulesy, it's less rules-based maybe, but it's still got some rules, is what I would just call design. And so examples of that might be typographical design. How do we use text effectively on a web page? CSS will help us with some of these aspects. Navigation. How do you design the navigation of your website so that so that the user is using the website in the way you want? A really important piece of navigation that people don't take advantage of enough is the decision about when you put a link on a web page, do you make it open in the same window or does it open in a new window? Okay, I would say that if it's a link to your internal website, so we're on your website about eating fruits and veggies, if you want them to go to another page on your website on eating fruits and veggies, then it should open in the same window. So they should stay in your website. But if it's a link to an outside resource, maybe a Wikipedia page on eating fruits and veggies, or maybe it's linking to the fed up documentary about why you shouldn't eat a lot of sugar, that should be an external link. That should open another window. That's an example of a navigational design consideration. That's a good rule of thumb. We'll talk about color and the CRAP principles.